Hello, this is the video for Daf Shevui, Daf Samekh Zayin, page 67 of Masechet Ketubot. I am Joshua Kulp. This is one of my favorite dapim in the Talmud because of the complexity of the message when it comes to tzedakah. The daf begins with, or the middle of the daf is a whole bunch of braitot of sources, Tanaic sources that talk about how generous people who divide up charity are supposed to be. And it's almost a little ironic the way they express something. For instance, a braita on the top of the second half of the page begins that you have to provide the poor person with whatever he is lacking, but the braita says you don't have to make him rich. So it would sound like we would normally think in our everyday logic that you have to provide a poor person with his basic needs. But then it says that which is lacking to him, even a horse to ride on and even a slave to run in front of him. And the Braita goes on to describe Hillel as actually doing this, of buying for a poor person a horse and the slave to run in front of him, showing us, I think the message over here is we have to understand not just what the poor person lacks in terms of basic physical needs, but also what he lacks in terms of the honor and the respect and the lifestyle that he was used to. If you have an ani ben tovim, a poor person who grew poor but was from a rich family, you have to bring him up to that level of being in a rich family again. As difficult as that might be to tzedakah, as difficult as it might be for the charity funds, the mitzvah isn't just to provide for the person at their basic level of sustenance. The mitzvah really is to restore the kavod back to that person, to make that person feel whole again. What they call in Hebrew, asher yechsarlo, that which is lacking to him. Whatever is lacking to him, whatever he feels as a subjective lack, you have to restore that. And that's the mitzvah of tzedakah. It is not just to sustain a person's bare life. Now, obviously, any of you who are practical minded are saying to me, that's really nice, Josh, but there's a limit to how much tzedakah the charity funds have. And we don't live in a world of endless resources. And when one person takes such a large share of the charity, inevitably there's going to be not sufficient funds for somebody else. And we get that in the stories that come later on, but we again get it in an amazingly complex way. There are two stories on this section. One of a person who comes in front of Rabbi Nechemia, and Rabbi Nechemia says, well, what do you normally eat? And the guy says, I eat fatty meat and old wine, which is the best food. And Rabbi Nechemia says, look, would you like to eat lentils with me? I eat lentils. Would you like to eat lentils with me? And the story ends with this ambiguous ending where the person eats lentils and dies, and we're not sure who's to blame. Rabbi Nechemia for asking him to eat lentils, or the person himself, where in the line he says he shouldn't have spoiled him so much, right? And that's the way I think that the Talmud treats this. Also in the story of Rava. Rava says, don't you worry about duchta de tzibora? Aren't you worried about the burden you're placing on the tzibora? And I think there's a twofold message. When it comes to the charity people who give out the charity, they are supposed to be exceedingly generous, giving to people all the way up to restoring them to whatever level of honor, whatever societal level they were in before. However, when it comes to the person receiving charity, the person should be extremely reticent, not completely reticent ad kadei until they have to starve, but reticent to receive more charity than they really need, and they could be concerned about the general level of income of the rest of society. It's a utopian system, right? It's utopian in the sense that we expect the best of intentions both for the charity collectors and for the charity receivers. And it leads to the next series of braitot, which talk about a person who's poor and doesn't want to receive charity. What do you do for that person? After all, he's got to live, right? If you tell the poor people that it's not, they should be very conscientious about the difficulties experienced by the rest of the congregation, rest of the people, and by the burden they're placing on people, you might end up with poor people who don't want to receive charity at all. So The message is complex, but I think that's the way the Talmud often deals with such issues. It assumes that people are acting in the best way possible, and then it tries to provide each of them with the proper motivations to lead them to live in an idealistic society.